So now I am so pleased to introduce our keynote speaker. Dr. Loutfy currently serves as the Director of Entrepreneurship Leadership Program, the Canadian Society of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which attracts international entrepreneurs, startups, and SMEs to Canada. Rafik spent 6.5 years as the Director of the Centre for Engineering, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship at Ryerson University, establishing its Faculty of Engineering, Architectural Science, Sustainable Entrepreneurship Ecosystem. We are looking forward to hearing about the importance of investing in Canadian innovation. And just before I turn the screen over to Rafik, I just would like to say what a pleasure it has been to work with him on organizing this event. His knowledge and his sincere enthusiasm for this topic has really been contagious, and I know that you're going to enjoy his presentation. So I will now turn it over to Dr. Loutfy.
All right. Okay, good evening. And it gives me great pleasure to be with you virtually today. This seems to be the way of the future, to have virtual events and to gather virtually. So it's a great pleasure to meet you all virtually. The topic of my presentation, as Carol has mentioned, is investing in Canadian innovation. When Carol called me in January to invite me to this event, I thought I will talk about the importance of innovation to our economic growth and prosperity in the context of business as usual. That is, our economy is growing at 2 to 3% per year, and our social order is normal. Not knowing in January that a major pandemic was on its way, that's going to put our economy and our social order on its heels. So it's not business as usual. No business is as usual. And also my talk cannot be sort of business as usual. So instead, I will talk now about innovation and entrepreneurship in the context of the pandemic, of the COVID-19. That is the new reality that we are living right now. So I geared now all my talk in that context. Then I will describe the major disruption and the changes that occurred as a result of the first lockdown, and which is going to be shaping our future. Then I will talk about the entrepreneurship and innovation and the opportunities that created, and all the changes and disruption that happened because of COVID are creating lots of opportunity for entrepreneurs to take advantage of them. And finally, I'm going to end by how disruptive technology can and will help us build back better. You will see that entrepreneurship and innovation is now even more important than before. So if I give my talk before the pandemic, it would have been sort of entrepreneurship and innovation is important for growth. But now in the COVID context, entrepreneurship and innovation is vital and high priority for our success and our recovery. And entrepreneurs and small business venture founder are the key to our economic and social recovery. So this is what I'm going to cover with you today. And please, if you have any question, put it on chat and I will be more than happy to answer it. Okay, so every one of you and all of Canada and the whole world has observed and lived how COVID has put our economy and our social order on its heels. See the economy on this side and our social order, which is the current one on this side. Our economy before the pandemic, you can see this curve here, our economy and our GDP was growing nicely at 2 to 3% per year. And we were very happy with that. And however, it was only limited by our productivity and our lack of our inability to increase the number of high growth firms into our economy. So that was the only thing we were struggling with, is how to become more productive, how to create more high growth firm in order to push that curve up. However, the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, the economy tanked. And you can see the huge drop in the GDP. And the most people lost between 25 to 30% of their net worth. But more important, 14 to 19% of the small businesses have closed. That is almost 160 to 200,000 businesses closed, from casinos to bars to gyms to and all small business, and any place where you have mass gathering of people, all of them closed. And from tourism and hospitality and hotels, lots of small businesses closed almost, and many of them will not open again. And in July, you can see that in July, our economy started to rebound, but only 62% of small businesses are fully open, and 37% are fully staffed, and 26% are making normal sale. And of course, that have pushed the unemployment to all-time high of 13.7%. And if it wasn't for the federal government bailout and CERP and the temporary wage subsidies that gave many of the businesses finances to underwrite the payroll, would that prevented this unemployment level to soar to a much higher number. And not only small businesses were affected, but also lots of the large businesses were affected. 22 of the 290 large firms in Canada declared bankruptcy or Chapter 11. So that's 7.5% of large businesses as well were in Chapter 11. So all this was happening, and you can see how this pandemic have affected tremendously our economy. But also at the same time, you can see that our social order was highly affected. People were starting now to work from home and using Zoom and others. Our kids finished the year online, and the distancing from our friends and families and transportation and all, we were social distancing and from each other. And we became now afraid of the people we love the most because of the infection. So as you can see from this picture, that the COVID impact on the whole economy was huge, and particularly you see that small businesses were highly affected. But also you should note that small businesses are the one which are responsible very highly for our potential success and our economic recovery. So why small businesses are the most important and should be our priority? Because historically, small businesses are the biggest contributor to net new job creation in our country. For instance, historically, from 2013 to 2017, 5 years, Canada created 640,000 net new jobs. Net new job mean growth of our economy. Net mean it's not just a replacement. You're adding a job which did not exist before. And who does this the best? Small businesses. 431,000 jobs were created by small businesses, 113,000 by mid-sized businesses. That is 85% of the net new job created in these 5 years were due to small and medium-sized enterprises. Large companies created only 94,000 net new jobs. So their contribution is not as high as only 15% of the total net new jobs. So if we look deeper at where these jobs came from, where these net new jobs came from, you will realize that we have what in Canada was called two-sided economy. One side is the goods producing economy, and the other side is the service producing economy. And in the good producing economy, in these 5 years from 2013 to 2017, they barely contributed 18,000 net new jobs. Construction was growing in this time, but manufacturing was declining. Forestry and fishery and mining and gas was declining in terms of contribution to net new jobs. Agriculture, because of temp workers and so on, was declining. So only construction was the one which is growing in this sector. But as you will see that manufacturing and agriculture after COVID became very important and essential for our survival. In the service side of the economy, you can see retailer are contributing, accommodation and food contributing, the financial services, of course, the high tech was contributing significantly, healthcare were contributing significantly. So that was the shape of our economy before COVID. When COVID hit, of course, you can guess which sector were affected the most. From accommodation, and all hotels started to close because tourism were affected and people are not traveling anymore. But the making side of our economy saw much higher growth, especially in manufacturing. Almost 15% growth in manufacturing occurred between July and August. And then in the agriculture, because we had difficulties on securing temp workers, and many of the temp workers, when they came, they got infected as well, and they had to quarantine. So you can see that now we realize the importance and how manufacturing and agriculture, we cannot depend on the outside world, and how essential it is to our security. On the other side, the retailers started to close, accommodation started to close, food became very important, and securing food supplies became important. And so is transportation, of course, was affected. Air Canada and WestJet and all started to lay off people, and high-tech industry continued to grow significantly. So is the healthcare area. So you can see that how in detail, how the economy was affected and how it used to be and what is becoming, and the opportunity that raised. But small businesses are the most critical element to support in order to drive our economic recovery. And of course, not only in large cities, but in also the whole entire rural of Canada need to be supported. And so why small businesses and startups are particularly, and new ventures are the one that need to be supported? Because if you look at the net new job that is created, you find that most of the growth happen in the first 5 years. The first 5 years of any company or any startup, they are hiring lots of people in order to create the value proposition. They need people to do the research and development. They need people to do the manufacturing. They need people to do the sales and marketing. They need people to do the maintenance. And they are constantly hiring people. So the growth of a net job creation during the first 5 years of any venture and so on is the highest. In the year 6 to 10, then the firm now delivered the value proposition, and they start focusing on productivity and streamlining the operation. So they start now only hiring IT people and the like. Then in the year 11 and beyond, now they start focusing on shareholder equity and reducing expenses. And of course, in order to reduce the bottom line, the biggest expense is salaries and benefits. So they start firing people. So that's the cycle which businesses go through. And as a result, you can see how important for our recovery to find ways and support small businesses and new venture in order to create net new jobs, and not only to replace the one which we lost, but also to create additional growth for our economy. And to conclude that it is the most important to priority for our all government at all levels is support the creation of new businesses, whether in big cities or and particularly in rural area, which are highly affected by the shutting down of our economy. So entrepreneurs, they are the one who give birth to new companies. They are the one who create new jobs, and they are the one who create new wealth for our nations. What one person will see as a crisis, and we are in a crisis right now because of the economic impact and social impact, some others will see it as opportunities. Entrepreneur has this unique trait that they see crisis as an opportunity to create a solution for the problem which the society is facing. And there are three reasons why now in this environment that is the best time for entrepreneur, because we see changes in behavior pattern of people and in the society. Oops. We see changes in certain existing trend, and certain existing technology, which was struggling to get adopted and so on. We see acceleration in adoption of these. So, and also we see lots of available talent and assets like never before. And all these three things represent opportunity for entrepreneurs to take advantage and create new businesses. So let us look in detail in each one of these three changes which has occurred, the disruption in terms of behavior pattern, in terms of that existing trend get accelerated, and availability of talent and assets. And I'm going to give you sort of what's happening, but also real life example of some of the entrepreneurs who took advantage of these trends. The COVID changing the behavior, our behavior pattern. There is no question that we are all spending much more time at home. And because we're getting isolated, we are also craving for connection. I mean, when I came from Florida in the end of March, I didn't see my grandchildren until the end of May. I was dying in order to see them. And I'm not the only one, probably everybody who is facing the same, that we have craving for connection with our loved one and our friends and our colleagues. But we, each of us, created our own social bubbles in order to protect ourselves. We are much more conscious now of our health and desiring safety. Now we don't take anything for granted anymore. And we are very, very concerned and conscious about our health. We eat better, and then we also exercise more, we meditate, we learn, and we are concerned about educating our kids. How are we going to educate our kids? My grandchildren ended the last year online, but this year I have 3 grandchildren. 2 are going to school full-time, 1 is staying at home and doing an online, chose the online because he's diabetic, and of course he's vulnerable, so his parent decided to deliver his education at home. We have more time to exercise, of course, and we are now learning to do things online. Now we are doing this whole event, we're doing it online. And Carol and Wendy mentioned the difference between doing it live and now doing it online. And I mean, I wish I can see you all and I can see your eyes, your reaction, in order to respond to your needs. But hopefully time will come when AI and virtual reality will make this possible, and I will talk about that. We are spending more time with family and kids and in a small community, and we are also developing new hobbies and game and entertainment. Let me tell you, we played lots of cards, and we watched every movie on Netflix and prime time. So if between April until August or so. So every one of these behavior changes are potential business opportunity for entrepreneur to pursue. And I'm going to give you an example of our desire for safety and how one entrepreneur in Toronto took advantage of this and responded marvelously. I don't know if you know about Myant. Myant is a Toronto-based e-textile company. So, and Tony Shaheen, the entrepreneur, he immediately responded to the need of the frontline healthcare worker, and he reconfigured his manufacturing line of textile and produced 340,000 masks, because we were not able to get masks from China and people were stealing our shipment from the airport. So entrepreneur like him immediately responded to the need in the market and the desire for safety, but also from compassion, and in order to create these masks for frontline and also for long-term care facility. 340,000 masks he produced in a very short time. Not only this, he also, because he's in the e-textile, and he managed to add a layer of filter that has copper and silver threads in order as an antiseptic, and in order to increase the efficiency and the safety for the wearer. Now, more recently, the Myant unveiled a connected personal protective equipment. So instead of the mask just as a filter for aerosol and to protect against the virus, they included in the mask and chips that will now also send the biometrics and all the vital sign of the wearer. So in the hospital, the nurses and doctors are wearing these for hours and hours and hours, but this now can monitor their efficiency, their fatigue, and whether they need to take a break or not, and then send all the vital sign to their phone. So here is an example of an entrepreneur who took the bull by the horn and responded to a change in the society, and in order to make life better for all of us. This is just one example, but for every one of these behavior changes which we're observing, there is opportunity for entrepreneur to take advantage of them. But you have to have some capability in order to pivot it, in order to respond to these changes. Okay, now let's look at some of the existing trends and existing technology, which was taking too long for adoption, that we see it now because of COVID is now getting accelerated. So remote work, of course, is the first one, which is very obvious. This trend of already was with the trend of people working from home was already increasing. And for example, in the United States, and 4% in 2010, 4% of the workforce was working from home. In 2019, 15% were working from home. So you see, it takes so long for it to increase by threefold. But look now what happened when the COVID hit. Everybody, 50% of people are working from home. My daughter, who is a specialist in infectious diseases, are working from home, and her husband is also working from home, and so this is huge jump. Of course, Zoom is one of the clear winner in this abrupt shift in remote working. We are all using Zoom right now, Here I was using Zoom to meet with my family, my daughter and my cousins, and all meeting and gathering, and even the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, meeting with, and many members of the parliament are meeting using Zoom. Zoom was founded by Jerry Yon in 2011, and he had almost 10 million users in 2014, 10 million users. In March 2020, he had 200 million users per day. 200 million users per day. And of course, valuation of this company now is in the billion. And so it's a unicorn. But it took COVID to push and accelerate this technology. But it's not going to stop there, because we're going to see AI and virtual reality added to it in order to make that experience and is more like attending a real event. So in the future, somebody is going to come up and solve the problem that I can see you all. I can see your reaction. I can see your eyes. And then in this event, and also through virtual reality, we're going to feel that we are all together in the same place. So lots of opportunity, but that's one of the big changes which got accelerated, which is remote work. And we are all experiencing it. Another trend that got accelerated because of COVID is online education. Online education. Overnight, more than 1 billion students worldwide were affected when we closed. Yeah, in March, the end of March, early April, all school closed and all students had to finish the year online. You can see the kids are all here and attending class with their teacher and so on. And there is lots of improvement is needed in order to make this system much more effective. And as you all know, and but it did work. Students did finish the year. Now they have the option to do it online or go to school, but God knows where it's going to go in the future. Ryerson University is all classes are online. I don't know about Georgian College and Lakehead. I think there's some attendant from there, whether they're doing everything online this year or not. So, but also, I like to mention that SOFI, I'm on the investment review committee of SOFI East. We invested in a company called Hi Mama. Hi Mama is a child care management software. It connects the parent with their kids so they can get a daily report, they can check in, they can get progress, they can see their kids, they can determine their safety. But the parent had to pay for this service. And you can imagine how Hi Mama was sort of struggling to get school after school to adopt it and make it available to the parent, and then the parent has to pay. But imagine today that how parent and so on are feeling about their kids, and they are concerned about their safety as they go to school, and they want to monitor this constantly. So Hi Mama is taking off, but imagine how we can do if we add AI and student data to make the learning experience more personalized and advance the knowledge and the experience of each student on their own way and their own path. So online education is now shifting, and it might not go back totally to in class, but it all depends on entrepreneur who's going to take advantage of the opportunity and solve all the problem which we are facing as we are doing this transition. A very successful acceleration of trend is in telehealth. Telehealth was struggling to gain adoption among consumers. For example, was only in 2019, only 11% of patients were using telehealth. But in April 2020, 46% of people were using telehealth in order to get help with their ailment. So that's a huge jump, and adoption of telehealth became very, very important. They were struggling, and then COVID come, and then people are shifting because number one, they don't want to go to hospital or to a doctor office because they're scared about their health and about infection. And then number two, lots of clinic and lots of doctors closed their offices for a period of time. So people had no choice but now to switch, and they are finding it amazing and very effective. Now, Sophie, we invested in one of these companies, and I'm going to tell you about as an example of these. I don't know if you know about Maple. It's called, or Get Maple. It's an online doctor virtual health and prescription in Canada, created by Brett. He is the founder. He is an ER doctor. He realized that 80% of the visit to ERs are due to that the people cannot get an appointment with their doctor. So 80%, they go to emergency and stay for hours because they cannot get immediate appointment with the doctor. The doctor gave them appointment in 2 days, 3 days, but they are feeling the pain today. So they go to emergency. And emergency is the most expensive healthcare provider in that sector. So they were wasting lots of money on people because they are not able to get a doctor appointment. So he created with his partners Maple, which is an online doctor. And you fill a survey, and in 3 minutes, you get a doctor on the phone or on Skype or on Zoom in order to diagnose what you have and prescribe. And they are licensed Canadian doctors. And they do this in 3 minutes. They charge usually $49 per call or per consult. And almost over 90% of the people they call, they can help them and diagnose and prescribe the right thing. But the rest, they recommend them to go to either emergency or the other. We funded them $500,000 from Sophie East in 2019. They now, after COVID, they raised $75 million in Series B financing, and they are taking off like crazy. And I saw personally how doctors are now flocking to use Maple in order to provide their care for patients. So here's an example of a trend that got accelerated because of COVID. The beauty of this, when the trend gets accelerated, it might slow down a little bit after COVID disappear, but it might sort of stick. If the solution is beautiful, then it can stick and stay in. Maple, since COVID happened, they had 242,000 visits in March, just March 2020. They had 242,000 site visits and patients who are seeking online doctor help. So here is another example of how certain technology trend, COVID has accelerated tremendously. One more example of existing trend that get accelerated because of COVID. As you all know, family vacation is big business. So families with toddler, for example, in 2019, they spent $160 billion on vacation. And if you have toddlers, you know the toddler rule. Everything is about how to entertain and how to take care of the toddler. 160 billion. 1.5 million children go on vacation with grandparents, either to Disney World or other places. And to take your grandparent to Disney World can cost you between $5,000 to $10,000 between flight and hotels, and they milk you in this process totally. 750,000 children, they went on cruises with their family. So the family vacation industry was very, very well-oiled industry. COVID hit and put a damper on this industry. The whole tourism, the whole industry really got hit, almost 66% decline in their revenue. However, some existing company which were in the private and secluded vacation provider, like Cabinscape. This is one of the companies also which Sophie East invested in. They build off-grid, solar-powered, ecologically responsible tiny cabins. And they place them, they are very beautiful and very well designed. They place them in rugged and beautiful and private landscape, near wilderness, trail or parks or lakes or river, in a very beautiful secluded area. They don't buy the land, they just lease the land from the owner. Imagine lots of family now, they cannot go on vacation, they cannot travel, and they cannot cross borders. All of a sudden, they have children and they need to go somewhere for a break. And now they can go to a secluded, safe, beautiful, and nature with nature. And Cabinscape, all of a sudden, they found their business, they are fully booked every day for the whole until the end of the year. When they open booking, in 2 hours, get fully booked. So for example, in October, they open for January, and in 2 hours, it's filled. So they are now building more and more of these cabins to place them in beautiful Ontario and Haliburton and in Aurelia and other places like this. So this is going to be big business and it's going to continue to grow. And COVID accelerated this trend. But then people become familiar and accustomed, and then they will use it more and more and repeated use in the future. Another company we invested in also, not that we had the foresight that COVID will come, but just happened that we invested in because it's a good business. And now we see that it is accelerating in terms of taking off because of COVID. If an example is that you know that in Canada, there is 2.1 million RV, 2.1 million RV. RV are expensive and RV are low utilization. So RV Easy was created in order to allow the owner to make money on their RV, which is sitting idle, and the renter to access this private experience and take their RV and go to a secluded area. My daughter and her family, they use RV twice already during this time between April and now. And they were delighted actually to find the last one to take and to rent and to use it. And they were very delighted because they are going, their business is booming like crazy. And this is now what's called the circular economy, because you are, or shared economy, because you have an RV, you own it, it's an asset, it's sitting there, not utilized. You're now utilizing it and be able to share it and make money. So this is the shared economy at work. So here's another example of two companies. You can imagine now in Aurelia and Haliburton and so on, lots of beautiful places, and the tourism it's affected, the casino affected. Now think about all these families who are seeking opportunities to find a private, secluded, safe, but also ecological, but you don't have to invest all the asset yourself. You can think about where is the asset that already not underutilized, and how can we use it in order to create a business, to create more jobs and create more economic activity in your region. This is big in rural Canada, and in terms of lots of opportunity that people, an entrepreneur, clever entrepreneur, can take advantage of. The third trend or change, beside how people behavior had changed, how certain activity, certain trend have been accelerating, and the third is the availability of talent and assets like never before. Yes, Carol?
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
I wondered if you could just do a brief explanation of what SOFI is. I know that in our world, we're aware of what it is, but maybe a lot of the attendees are not.
Yes. So SOFI is the Southern Ontario Fund for Investing in Innovation. And there is SOFI East and SOFI West. The SOFI East cover all the way from Toronto to Ottawa and that region, and all the rural area there. The SOFI West cover from Mississauga to Windsor. And the federal government gave us $30 million in the last 7 years. We've been using $30 million to loan startup and companies, and each loan is $500,000. They can request funding. Usually the companies will look for that they have traction, they have revenue, they have ability to pay. They are also creating jobs in Ontario, and they have a market that is going to be growing. And we review their application. Then we have a meeting with them, which we review. We had one today with a company from Kingston that making rooftop wind turbines, and I think we approved their fund. And so we have seen 104 companies came and applied. We granted loans to 94 companies. 20 of them paid back the loan in full. 70 are still, we still have the loan. They are running with the loan right now. So usually these companies are looking for non-dilutive source of capital, because their market is going to grow and they don't have enough collaterals to go and get bank loan. So they come to us instead of going to venture capital or angel, and in order to prove their growth and increase their value before they go to and go for equity funding or venture capital and the like. So that's what SOFI does, and we accept the application all the time from all Eastern Ontario. And we still have $7 million of cash available.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I just had one other question that came through the chat, and I think you're actually dealing with it right now, but I'll read it anyway, and then maybe you can continue. And it's what sectors that you see as flourishing post-COVID?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about this, about where the disruptive technology and how it can help, and that will become clear which sector will flourish tremendously in the future. I mean, this is one of them, which is because of the nature of Ontario, and we have lots of land and lots of beautiful landscape and so on, that thinking about people will start doing vacationing in the country and in our province and not go anywhere for some time, God knows how long. I mean, I went to Florida last winter for the first time. I don't know whether I'm going to go there or not. So I might want to find other alternatives, and in order to, so that's just an example, and others will come when I talk about the disruptive technology and how it's going to help us move forward. Okay, any other question, Carol?
Nope, that's all for now.
Okay, thank you. No, I like that. Please ask question, because it gives me indicator of where I should emphasize more. Thank you. Yeah, so please, anybody who has a business and need capital for up to $500,000, Sophie East is a good place to go. We process application monthly, and once it's approved, it doesn't take more than a week or so to get your check, and the terms are really a very good. The interest rate's still high because it's a risk capital, but it is it's good. So consider it. So in terms of widening the pool of available talent and assets, before COVID, Canada's entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem attracted lots of talent and also lots of capital for the first time. For example, in 2017, in terms of Toronto was the fastest growing market for tech jobs. Toronto added net new tech jobs more than Seattle, New York, Washington, and the Bay Area combined. And that's amazing. I think Canada became an attractor of talent, attractor of technical talent. And thanks to the support of many, many accelerators like Tandem Launch in Montreal, Next Canada, DMZ, Mars, Communitech in Waterloo, District in Montreal and Concordia. So all these accelerators, which many of them are government funded and so on, they are helping to support entrepreneur in moving their business idea to the market. So, and I think we're going to hear about that a little bit more as well. But not only this, for a long time, our entrepreneurs, once they prove their concept and now they want to grow their market and they need huge capital injection. They cannot find it in Canada, so they go to California, Silicon Valley, or Boston, or Philadelphia, or New York, depending on your business, and in order to get the capital. And then usually they also move all their operation there. So we were losing talent, and it's called the brain drain. But I think, recently, in the recent years, because of lots of the government initiative and support, we're starting to create this critical mass and ecosystem that became an attractor of talent. And then because you have the talent, then the capital follow. The capital start coming in and pouring into Ontario. So Microsoft was investing $570 million, creating 500 new jobs. Uber, $200 million. And many others like WeWorks, Lab, and so on, were all coming and bringing their investment into Canada. And even Shopify, which is from Ottawa, were putting $500 million investment in Toronto office and so on, and creating thousands of jobs. So lots of corporate and high-tech company are bringing their capital and putting it in Canada because of availability of talent. But also not even that, but also venture capitalists. Silicon Valley Bank, set shop in Canada because of lots of the opportunities and lots of the clever startup, which was created in Canada. Funding Circle, which is people-to-people lending from the UK, came to Canada. They sort of source the fund for your own particular business, and this is amazing that lots of small businesses can take advantage of this and by applying to them. So Canada was attracting talent, was attracting capital, but still in terms of growth, total growth and total contribution to GDP, where all that innovation, entrepreneurship, and tech sector was only contributing 2 to 3% of our GDP. So we had a long way to go. But all of a sudden, COVID widened the availability of talent and asset to everybody. Because for the first time in several years, an unbelievable, amazing talent became abundant and available, because lots of businesses closed and so on, so the talent's available. But also international talent. Lots of people from all over the world, they are now want to come to Canada and see Canada as a place where they want to set shop and start their business and create jobs. So this trend has been accelerating, and lots of talent available, but also lots of assets, because businesses and hotels, as they close, then the asset, which is underlying asset, as schools, as university, lots of classrooms, lots of building become available and can be. Now I hear the Rama Casino in Aurelia is still closed. So you have facilities which is now is underutilized. So entrepreneur will see these as opportunities, an opportunity to take advantage of them and then create. So the sheer number of problems that COVID have brought, it also bring a huge number of possible opportunities for us to take advantage of. So and not only talent is available locally, but international technologists and entrepreneurs, more than ever, they are seeking coming to Canada and considering Canada as the place to be. So instead of the flow going to the US, the flow now is coming to Canada. So that's also another opportunity, because the talent is there for utilization. All right. I cannot see myself. Can you see me or not, Carol? Oh, yes.
Yes, we can see you.
Very good. I could not see myself. Okay. So, in spite of COVID, the high-tech sector showed continued growth. Look here, for example. Look at the curve of the growth in GDP of the high-tech sector in Canada. Continued to grow, while all the others, you can see that how it went down, but now slowly is recovering. But the high-tech sector is unique, and of course this is fueled by the demand for online services, automated self-services, contactless service journey, improvement productivity of remote work, the virtual collaboration, the virtual healthcare, the remote online schooling, the safe travel and safe return to work, propelled lots of the high-tech entrepreneur sector and help that sector to continue growth in spite of the COVID. So this sector is unique and is critical to the job growth and creation in post-pandemic. So I want to focus the next section and the last part on the contribution of the high-tech sector and where the opportunity will be. So now, the impact of disruptive technology, as you know, the disruptive technology of the past propelled our economic growth for years and years and years. So, for example, a disruptive technology like electricity, which was discovered in 1873, it took 46 years for electricity to have 1 million users. And do you know which city in the world that had the first electrically lit street? You will not believe it. It's Pembroke, Ontario. So Canada was always ahead in terms of adopting technology or inventing new things, but it seemed that we don't make the money out of it. Somebody else does, in the United States and so on. We want to change that, of course, in the future. The telephone, again, Canada was it took 35 years to have 1 million users. The automobile took 55 years to have 1 million users. And each one of these technology was disrupting another one. So, of course, this is disrupted in 1886, disrupted the carriage and horse and the buggy and so on, radio, television, microwave. This is how long it took for this disruptive technology to take over and then get mass adoption. But look what happened beyond 1975. The PC came took 16 years. Mobile phone, 13 years. The web, the internet, 7 years. This technology, the internet wave, there is lots of entrepreneurs saw these coming. And by the way, most of them were born in 1953, 1954. So they were about 20, 22 years old. So they were just graduated from university and saw the wave coming. So they were at the right time, right place in order to go with the internet wave and create value for the society and for themselves. Of course, some of these are like Microsoft, Bill Gates, and Apple, Steve Jobs, and and then Amazon, Jeff. So all these companies took advantage and have ridden this wave of disruptive technology and then created incredible value. And now Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon, all of them are now over $1 trillion of market value. $1 trillion. This is unbelievable. And this is the past. This is the technology, the disruptive technology. Disruptive technology means it's a technology that's in adoption, go from 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. So it doubles. It doubles in terms of adoption or over time. So that's why at the beginning, the adoption is so, it doesn't seem to be anything changing. And then all of a sudden it takes off. Yeah. So telehealth might be one of these examples, which will experience that. Time will tell. So all these companies did very well, but because of the entrepreneur, they saw something that other people didn't see coming, and they took advantage of it. They mobilized the resources in order to take advantage of it and produce a market value that people adopted, and then over time kept exponentially growing. Okay, what are the next technology waves of our time? As you know, we are getting faster and cheaper computing power. The chip now is almost 10 micron. You can pack so many transistors on one chip. So it's becoming faster and faster and faster and cheaper. And also we're hyper connected, the connectivity, the internet. We're all connected. I mean, right now we have 4 billion people. 4 billion people are on the internet. The world is 8 billion people, but so it's only 50%. So imagine when everybody's connected, we're going to add 4 billion additional people all over the world will be on the internet, that you can reach them and you can do things and offer things. So because of the cheap and fast computing, and also the bandwidth, of course, the 5G is becoming very important because of the hyper connectivity and the speed and latency. These are driving certain technology that are called disruptive technology, that they're gonna disrupt the existing way of doing things and make it obsolete. For example, the 3D printing, that now you're doing custom manufacturing. This is going to be $100 billion market in 2030. By the way, these numbers, all of them are before COVID. I don't know what the number will be with COVID and how COVID will, I will show you an example of how COVID could push these even accelerated even more. So this is custom manufacturing. When China was not delivering PPE to us, I mean, some people, if they had the capability of doing 3D printing, they could have done 3D printing of PPE for the healthcare workers and so on. Robotics, of course, robotics has been used in physical work, in assembly line and so on, and there's already $139 billion in 2019. But in terms of robotics, drones are robotics, autonomous, everything is robotics, because these are driven not by, it is sort of controlled to do jobs, but not with human being in them. So drones is going to become $200 billion in 2030. Autonomous everything, autonomous car, autonomous plane, autonomous everything will be 36 billion in 2025. AI now getting into everything from finance to medical to law, and it's going to become $169 billion. Bots, $3 billion. Bots is when you call in order customer service, the first line is actually somebody's responding to you either by text or by phone, and it is a bot, it's not a person. So they respond and using AI in order to have a conversation, sort out your need, and then escalate it only if they cannot handle it. So bots is going to be $3 billion market in 2024. Virtual and augmented reality, $162 billion. Internet of Things is going to be $33 trillion. This is from Internet of You, wearable or voice assisted, and so on. Sustainability in terms of energy and shared economy. And also the digital biology in terms of DNA and customizing the cure for you as a person. So these are some of the disruptive technology that we are seeing them sort of exponentially growing. This means adoption is slowly going and doubling until it takes off. From 3D printing to robotics to AI to virtual reality and so on. So let's look at all these with the lens of the COVID and how they help the society and where the opportunity might be in the future, and how this technology can help us, an entrepreneur who take advantage of them can create enormous value for themselves and for the society. 3D printing is solving problems in all verticals, from healthcare to aerospace to automotive to manufacturing. And it is disrupting the supply value chain and disrupting a $10 trillion supply chain in the world. Because now you can 3D print from aeroplane engines to motors to skin to limbs and anything you can 3D print. I'm going to show you an example of this. You can print organs, you can print dental. My implant was 3D printed, which my dentist have given me. You can print limbs, you can print cast, and these casts are printed just for you. They can speed the healing by 40 to 80%, faster healing, and also overcome lots of the side effect, because the side effect, if you're a cast and you cannot scratch and you start getting atrophy of the muscles. In 3D printing, you can make it very rigid, you can loosen it, you can actually pulse it to massage the muscles, and then all the side effects are removed. These are just example of, you can 3D print a house in construction. This is a house which is 3D printed in 24 hours. Here is a 4,305 square foot house printed in 45 days. I have a house being built across the street. It took a year and a half for them to finish. Here is 3D printing can do it in 45 days. And in one of the first companies, it's called Icon Technology in Austin, Texas. They have got the building permit to build a small house, 3D printed house, in 24 to 48 hours. These houses are built, and the material and all the cost is less than $10,000. So talking about affordable housing, or talking about Cabinscape. Now Cabinscape can print the house in the location they choose. Example, $10,000 to build this house. in communities in order to provide housing, affordable housing to people. We are suffering from affordability of housing. I mean, of course, especially in Toronto and so on. Now, this is 3D printing, so it's only limited by our imagination and or what we can do. Robotics and robots, of course, we've been using them for years and years in manufacturing very effectively, but robots now are finding their ways in many sectors. So robot can cook. If restaurants are not serving food anymore, but actually people are picking it up or it's being delivered, now you can have a smart robot that's capable of flipping up to 19 different things at the same time, and it never tired or never make an error or any, and then also it doesn't touch the food. So for safety as well, it's much more increased. Robots are now also can serve you. The robot in Japan, there was shortage of server. So now the robot is serving you your pizza and the like, and the pizza are not touched by human. So, and then it can find its way and it navigates through objects and all the stuff. So they can cook and they can serve and they can harvest. Now we had a major problem in agriculture, with temp workers, availability and travel and so on and safety and the like. Robots, some entrepreneur now seeing opportunity to get robot to do the harvesting effectively and in a very, very hygienic and the like. So robots are finding their way everywhere and in every sector. Do you have a question?
Yeah, just about robotics. Do you see robotics AI replacing humans in the workplace or adding to human employment?
No, I think, that's a very good question. And there's lots of struggle whether it's actually replacing employment or complementing it. And I think it's going to be complementing and adding. I mean, there's lots of additional jobs which will be created and high-tech jobs of how you design and make and customize the robots. So there is lots of creation of different type of jobs. And instead of the low paying, it's going to be more high paying jobs that robots can create. And then all the AI, all the programming and all the customization will create lots and lots of jobs and high paying jobs, in my opinion, but I might be wrong.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Now, robots also can teach or entertain. This robot is, as you can see, head, shoulder, knee, and toe, and entertaining the kids and keeping them occupied and teaching them, and they're learning from them. So is this taking the job of a teacher? I'm not sure. I don't think so. It's kind of augmenting it and making it more interesting and more engaging. And they are learning also how to interact with robots and what robot can do and not do. And they will see a future which is very different than ours, for instance. Drones are seeing utility in many areas, from healthcare to policing to agriculture to delivery and the like. And by the way, in China in the early days of COVID, they used drones to disinfect cities. So they were sending drones, swarm of drones, to disinfect areas, which is considered to be a high contagious area. They were also sending drones with infrared sensors that in crowded area to spot the people with high fever and the like, and then isolate them quickly from spreading anything to others. So drones were crucial in the early days in China to contain and disinfect this spread of that disease. And as a result, you remember that they sort of reached 82,000 in total infection, and then they cut it off. So, but that's one of the reasons, but of course there is many others as well. So you can see drones can be used effectively in emergency situation, and but some people might think they are intruding on your personal privacy and so on. But in China, I think that's not maybe a big issue. But here is an example of a drone, a person who got in London and UK, who had a heart attack, and a bystander immediately come to respond to their need and call 911 or the equivalent. And 911, of course, in the busy London street would take, at least 10-15 minutes to arrive. Instead, they send the drone in a matter of minutes. It arrived, it land, it provide the equipment and the instruction to the bystander to stabilize the person until the ambulance arrived. This is unbelievable how drone can now penetrate the healthcare sector. So which is just an example of utilization of drone in healthcare, but I'm sure a lot more. Amazon just now got a permit to use drone for delivery. All of us, I think, been using Amazon extensively. Amazon is at my place almost every day. And at the beginning, in April, I left the package outside for 72 hours because I was scared that it might be contaminated. But then, so if you know that's not been touched by human, then you might be able to use it faster. Amazon was not the first one to get approved for delivery scheme in the United States. UPS did, and their focus was actually moving organs from one part of the hospital to another very quickly and very safely, whether it's a liver or a kidney and so on, and moving it within facility or between hospitals. And they got approval for this. So drones, we're going to be using them for delivery and without touchless delivery. The commercial drones are being used to do work. Of course, you know that the drone have been used by the police. And in Boston, the Boston Marathon attacker was discovered using a drone with infrared sensor, and they saw the body heat under a boat. He was hiding under a boat, but it was discovered through drone and then was arrested as a result. So drones are highly utilized, and there is a company in Kitchener, Arion Lab, that completed this $200 million exit, and they sold their technology to a US company, and which is, of course, they focused for 14 years working on optimizing and stabilizing and making their drone a workhorse for the police in the United States and Canada and others. So these are just examples of how drones will be utilized. Now, artificial intelligence is a big deal. It's entering every sector, from finance to healthcare, which is it. Using artificial intelligence and machine learning, you can digest lots of data and figure out very quickly and zoom and on what is important and what the thing you're looking for, and it make prediction. So artificial intelligence will be used at schools so that you can image and then you can determine whether a student is high risk or not, and very quickly, and then you do isolation. Research also using artificial intelligence be able to early prediction of whether one has COVID or not from blood test. So simple blood test, instead of sticking something and almost go to your brain in order to. So all these artificial intelligence is going to be a big deal. Here is an example. I remember Zoom. People will not leave Zoom just dominate by itself. Here is an example where now video conferencing is combining AI so that you can do lots of the things which you cannot do with Zoom. And Vidya is now just launched their platform. We'll see whether that will have an appeal, a mass appeal or not. But Zoom is not going to be the only one. There will be many others which we'll see where is the weakness of Zoom and how we can overcome them using disruptive technology. And even virtual reality. Now, as you know, we are doing lots of meetings and so on, and we are welcoming new employees to work just on Zoom, but Zoom has only two-dimensional. If you use virtual reality, you can create an experience, an environment as if we are all in the event together, and as if we are actually are meeting each other and seeing everybody and where they are sitting and what they are doing and who is talking to who and all the like. So finally, Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, of course, is just 1 minute before I open it for more questions. The Internet of Things is the third wave of Internet. Remember, the first wave in the 90s was just connect your computer. 1 billion user came on. In 2000, now you can connect your phone as well and mobile, 2 billion. And then now you can connect devices. Devices now is going to go to, it's almost at 8 billion going to 40 billion by 2040. 1 trillion devices will be on the internet. 1 trillion. I personally have 10 Internet of Things connected to my phone, from cameras to thermostat to lights to and doorbells. Everything is connected to the internet. I can see my cottage and outside who's in the front, who's in the back, everything, and I can control the temperature in my cottage in Georgian Bay and see what is going on and whether I should drive there or I should stay at home. Internet of Things is a massive adoption. As wearable, is going to be 51 billion connected cars, 200 connected homes, connected cities, and smart cities. And then in transportation and healthcare, Internet of Things is going to be big business. And the popularity, of course, is all the gadget which people use for smart home, from camera, lights, and so on, which I'm using lots of them. Wearable, which give you lots of the vitals, and then in the cities, smart cities. I mean, we had the big opportunity with Google Lab to sidewalk lab in order to make a smart city within Toronto, but it got closed. Smart grid. So Internet of Things will be everywhere. Even is going to be Internet of Things in your clothing. Remember Myant, and Tony Shaheen is now putting and producing fabrics with wiring, silver wiring already netted into the fabric, and then the chips in order to measure your vitals and measure your activities and your health constantly, because he believed that the best interface to our body is our clothing. So he was already working on this. Even he was making internet of underwear. Under your underwear with a sensor on it and so on can measure lots of important information about your heartbeat, your body temperature, your breathing, your hydration, your body fat, and many others as well. So unlimited possibilities of the Internet of Things and what it can do. And of course, this is how Tony Shaheen now added it to mask in order to help the front care workers to measure their vitals while they're working in hospitals and serving our communities. Necessity is the mother of invention. And because we have lots of crises and lots of problems, entrepreneurs like yourself and will find ways to find solution, to create solution that will help our society and our community. And that end my talk, and I will be more than happy to answer any question.
I have one question that was put in the chat towards the middle of the presentation. I'll just read it. It says, since I and my team are in the independent financial advice business, where do you see financial services from a consumer point of view?
Yes, that's a very good question. And of course, we're all concerned about our retirement, our future, where the market is going, and how to protect our capital. And so lots of smart people who, and the first goal is to assure people and calm them down and so on. But then how to use all the technology available to come and manage the wealth of people and assure that it's going to be in the right place and safe and it's going to grow is vital. And it's going to, we're all dependent on our advisors to make our retirement and comfortable and safe. And so no question that this is a sector which is will be both under pressure and also will require lots of analysis and digging and clever work to predict and manage people assets.
That is the last question that I had in chat remaining, since we got to some of them during the presentation. I'll just give people maybe another 30 seconds if they feel like typing something in. So we'll keep it open. In the meantime, I want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Loutfy for his presentation. It's certainly, it never ceases to amaze me how it's our nature almost to resist change and to resist learning sometimes. I know I'm certainly guilty of that when it comes to technology, but when you've got to do it, you've got to do it. And it's something that you can be proud of yourself, that you've mastered all of these things in such a short period of time.
Yes, and I like to iterate that. My goal was to expose you broadly to many of the opportunities and the issue and the dynamics which is going on around us, so that just to open your mind. But then you hopefully through this, you will, when you read something in the newspaper or you so on, you will see it in a different lens, and you will see it now in a context which I was hoping to present to you all. And opportunities is unlimited, and clever entrepreneurs will take the bull by the horn and with some teammates and so on, and they will create values and solve problems and create value for themselves and for others. And there is lots of them in our country, and we have abundance. We most important in Canada that we need to believe in ourselves. We are always humble and always think that other people are more clever than us. It's not true. I lived in the United States. I worked for an American company, and we are more capable than anybody else. So we have to believe in ourselves.
So I'm going to close not with a question, a comment. It comes from Linda Goodall, who's with Building Hope here in Aurelia. And she says, thank you, Dr. Loutfy. Very informative and also very overwhelming in a way, but exciting to hear ways that we can reach the world and our local economy.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn my camera off.
Okay, perfect. And we hope you'll join us for the rest of the afternoon.
Yes, I will.
Great.
Looking forward to hear from Ross, David, Catherine, and Jeff.
Wendy was talking earlier about our love of social media. And so I'd like to encourage you to use our hashtag. It's hashtag CDC LnL, and to make some kind of a social media post. Tell everybody how much you enjoyed the event. And then also please tag us through at Aurelia Area CDC so we can share your